That's a magic number. Yes, it is. It's the magic number.
What does it all mean?
Hello and welcome to Flintoff, Savage and the Ping Pong Guy. That's me, Matthew Syed. Two meaty topics. First, we're going to talk about the positives and negatives of anger in sport. Then, on the back of Fred bringing up the moon landings last week, we each brought in a conspiracy theory. Use the hashtag FredSavSide to get in touch with future topics. But let's start with what we've been up to over the previous week. It's been a big week.
Big week.
What have you been doing, Rob?
So I have been rehearsing for the Strictly Come Dancing Christmas special.
Biggest TV programme of the year, millions of viewers.
Yeah,
Why'd they invite you back?
Because obviously, Matthew, unlike yourself, the public like me. Well, I'm not sure if they do. Maybe because this podcast they do. But when I was in the show, week 10, I wasn't a very good dancer. Never in the bottom until I went out. So they've invited myself back, but I'm not going to win it. I'm not going to win it.
Don't take yourself out.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Listen, Colin Jackson got to the final, brilliant. Kimberly Walsh got to the final, brilliant. Judy Murray, myself, Jeremy Vine, and Katie Durham. Durham.
The news.
Very graceful dancer. She danced with Anton. She was. I think she got to the final as well. So I've got no chance. So what do? Do I go fun entertainment, or do I try and dance like a good dancer, but? No, I'm not good.
Which way are you leaning at the minute? Are you like the Ed Bowles of Christmas?
I would say so, but I'm doing a dance which is a ballroom dance.
Yeah.
I've got quite a good frame. I've got quite a good frame.
Have you? What would that new judge say about your frame? What's she called? That one who's really harsh.
Shirley Ballas, is it the new one? Len's gone.
Shirley Bassey.
No, Shirley Ballas.
Shirley Ballas.
Yeah. So it's been very. Listen, I've not got the steps right. I'm all over the place. It's tough training. I realise how difficult it is.
How demanding is the training? How much time are you spending each day on it?
Yes, about 3 hours a day.
Wow.
But the thing is, it's an extra 20 seconds of dance. It was.
Not 20 seconds.
Yeah, it was,
an extra 20 seconds, Rob. How are you going to manage?
It was 1 minute and 30.
Ooh.
When you were in it.
You practice 3 hours a day?
Yeah.
Just one day?
1 minute and 50.
So just 1 day's practice for a minute?
4 times next week.
What, 4 times to dance for a minute?
Yeah. Well, in that 1 minute and 50.
Do you have a lot of coffee breaks?
No, it's tough, man.
But
it's tough.
It's a one-off, right? It's only being broadcast on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
So you're going to perform one dance.
For 1 minute 50 and a group dance. And a group dance, which is I've got to go to London Tuesday.
Are you nervous?
I will be, because I'm not. Yeah, very nervous. But my partner is Diane Buswell, fantastic, fantastic. She was with the Reverend Coles. And I said to her, I'll need God as well in my dance, I think.
Are you better than the Reverend?
I think so.
I think so.
He got eliminated early, didn't he, in the last run?
Yeah, I think so. So that's been my week.
He sent a couple of videos on the WhatsApp of him dancing.
Saw it.
What's that Mickey Flanagan walk dance with your arms going like a cockney?
Yeah, all right, geezer.
What's that about?
Horrific. But anyway, I've done that. I lost in my cup game for my under-12s 2-0 against A-Side Blues.
Ooh.
And then I was in the left.
Is that the team that you're the co-manager with the controller of
Live?
Yeah,
we lost 2-0 today.
Getting recommissioned, Fred, for sure.
We lost 2-0 this week.
I think Rob's 606 gig's going to go, isn't it? if you start,
What would go first, 606 or this one?
606.
Yeah, it would.
We can do this without Rob.
Yeah.
Just have an empty chair. So anyway, that's been my week. What about yours, Andrew?
Tell you what, massive, right?
Massive week. I've done 11 shows this week.
What?
11 shows with dress rehearsals and run-throughs. We opened on Tuesday, Fat Friends of Musical in Leeds.
Yep.
I must admit, backstage waiting to go on, I was nipping a little bit. I was a little bit nervous, went out there, got a great reception.
Did you get a good reception?
Good reception. And then it's gone all right. It's gone well. It's been hard, though. But then, because it's like the preview week, we don't officially open till Tuesday after press night, so it's been a preview week. There's been a few mistakes.
Did you manage to screw the door in? Remember last week you said about the door?
I've got to fix the door. First night, my hand was shaking. I'm trying to fix this door. And then other night, in one of the scenes, I'm eating some chips as I'm speaking. And the chips were so dry and my mouth went dry. I got a chip stuck in my throat as I was trying to speak.
You actually have to eat these chips out on stage.
Yeah, it's
That's tough. That's not easy.
Perk at the job.
What, eating chips?
Well, when you've got a dry mouth and you're nervous and you're trying to eat and remember your lines.
Not easy.
Sing.
Hang on. We're talking about Fat Friends of Musical, and you've just said it's not easy eating the chip.
Okay, I'll tell you what. When you do Strictly Come Dancing, we'll give you a pack of chips to eat.
Yeah.
He's only got to eat a chip.
I'm speaking as well. And then
Oh,
yesterday,
And singing, right?
I did 2 shows yesterday on the Saturday. Did a matinee and the audience were mental. Absolutely mental. I do this song and I started singing. And they started laughing. It's like, you're not meant to laugh at this. And then, because they laughed, I lost my thread a little bit. And then I got behind the song. So then I started singing at the wrong time. I went, oh, and then, oh, that's the wrong bit. So I started again, and I pretended that I got all emotional in the song, so it was in the song. I sounded like a dying owl. I was like, oh. But it's been a week and a half.
Do you have a strategy if, for example, because it must happen occasionally when you're live on stage, that one of the cast completely blanks, they forget their lines?
Happened this week.
So what happens? Have you been told how to try and coax somebody to get back on track?
We just got to think on your feet.
Make it up.
Yeah? Well, yeah, because you know the scene you're in, and you just got to try and... Because what happens is, I've found, everyone has their lines, and then your cue is off the back end of someone's line.
Yeah.
So you hear the last sentence of someone's speech, and then you know you're in. If you don't get that, or somebody then says something differently...
Wow, yeah.
And I've ruined a couple of people's cues this week. Curly Watts, Kevin Kennedy, amazing man. He's my father-in-law in the show, and he's just an old pro. He's brilliant. He's like, looks after everyone. And there's a scene I do with him and Geordie, and I came in early with my line, because it's a line where you interject a little bit over them speaking. I came in early. I thought, I'm coming early. But then he just... Because he's so good, they just went with it.
Right.
But then someone did it to me, and it was a bit, here we go.
When you're doing 11 in a week, is there a problem with the vocal cords?
No, they doesn't have to do 11 a week for that.
But you imagine that school teachers who are constantly having to talk over and over again, they eventually lose their voice. Do you have any techniques to...
Techniques!
I do a vocal warm-up where it starts off... doing all my warm-ups, and then I'm on these little pastels called vocal zones, which keep your voice going.
They're good, aren't they?
But do you know what? Do you know the strange thing about it is everybody else sings, and they're all proper singers, and I sing, and I'm not in tune all the time.
Yeah.
But
your hair's grown as well.
My hair has grown. I've had a shave and all sorts.
It's gone dark.
Yeah.
Did you used to have highlights then?
No, I've never had highlights. I did when I was younger.
Is that what it is? Do you know, when I came into the studio, I saw you from behind. I thought, who the hell is that?
My weakness, is it?
Who is that big
bloke? Look how dark your hair's gone.
Yeah, because it's long and thick.
What?
I had highlights.
You've had highlights.
I had highlights when I was younger. I've not had them for years. What's the first subject, Matthew? Oh, tell us what you've done, Matthew. What have you been doing?
I did, as ever, a few speeches this week. 2 of them at Old Trafford Cricket Ground.
Did you? In that big room?
There's a brilliant venue there called The Point.
Oh, it's too big.
It's large, isn't it?
Too big.
It's not as intimate as some of the other venues. But I was kind of expecting that there would be a shrine to Andrew Flintoff. There'd be photographs.
As long as you go in.
I don't think I had a look around because I wanted to have an anecdote to bring. And in the Point part of Old Trafford, you know what I mean? That big tall building with there wasn't anything there, and I was surprised. So I'm going to drop an email to Old Trafford to language like, where is Fred?
Nowhere.
Tell you what, it's a sort. I can see from your facial expression, Fred.
I'm led to believe you've played tennis with your son for the first time.
Yes, yesterday. And I was actually thinking of you two when I started doing it because you have nurtured your
proper
children.
Tennis or on a table.
No, so he's been doing tennis lessons at the local.
How old is he?
Club. He's 3, little Teddy.
Oh, you're a pushy parent.
Well, exactly. Well, I've been worried.
I've been trying to sort your pension out. I've
been worried about.
You will be Roger Federer. You will be. You'll be better than Murray.
Yeah, well,
Don't you be another Tim Henman. Do not be another Tim Henman.
He's about to turn 4. So we got this softball in the lounge, and I dropped it and got him to hit it. He got 1 point for hitting it with the frame of the racket, 2 points for hitting it with the middle of the racket. And I don't know if you think this is a good idea or not. If he got up to 10 points in 10 minutes, I would give him a 20p to add to his pocket money. And I'm not sure whether that's a good thing to do.
He's only 3.
Is that bad? And then we go to Tiger.
Money.
You think that's a bad idea?
But you're on 15 grand a speech. Oh, maybe a bit more or less. 20p. 15 15 grand a speech.
Hey, just
yeah,
stop
you do
it.
10 a week sometimes.
Just for clarification, it's nowhere near 15. What would you say about what do you want for the musical?
Mate, you would be shocked.
Really?
It's almost charity.
Pantomime. It's a pantomime, it is. It's not music, it's a pantomime.
Okay, should we do one? Okay.
20p.
Yeah, no, but seriously, on your kids, you've got wonderful children, and I've met your kids for the first time
Yeah,
today,
now I'm
Fred.
on
Yeah.
Daddy daycare.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing much of them at the minute, so I bring them.
That's what Ollie's doing her homework outside. Where's Rocky?
Rocky's doing his long adding and subtraction.
With Stanley.
With Stanley.
Is he?
Yeah.
What's Dad? Are you not producing today?
No.
Corey's just catching flies and always watching her phone.
But on the issue of how did you encourage... So your kids are achieving great things. They're doing well at school. They're doing well in sport. How did you incentivise them? Did you ever say, if you do your homework well, or if you play particularly well, or you practice hard for your cricket or football, I'll give you a quid, or I'll give you more pocket money? Or did you never use financial inducements?
No, never. To be fair, my kids have only just started getting pocket money.
Really?
Yeah, really. Only, I would say 2 years now, pocket money. And it's £10 a week. Or, now the thing is FIFA points.
FIFA points?
Yeah, so you can, it's on FIFA, and you can get your packs. So you can buy a pack at $11.99. So if they do good at school, or if they're good all week, they can have one FIFA pack at $11.99.
I don't get this FIFA stuff.
Oh, mate.
Oh, that's it.
So listen,
that's it. I'd pay my kids not to play it.
So Stanley's
buying points.
Stanley's round.
There's some FIFA points and a tenner to go and look at a screen and these little men running round that you're controlling.
So Stanley,
Get outside, it's a big
we're
world.
going to my conspiracy theory later. So listen, Stanley was what do you call it? Don't call it babysitting at the age of 14, 11, do you? Child-minding my kids. I mean, my wife went out Friday for something to eat.
Where'd you go?
I went into my little Fisk in Prestbury.
Fisk?
Yeah, nice.
Quite posh, isn't it?
Yeah, it was nice, yeah, really nice.
Was it romantic?
Was it romantic? We went on great terms.
No,
but it was nice.
Yeah. It sounds brilliant, Rob.
What were you still arguing about the car that broke down outside the garage?
No, just little,
You have a stirring contest over dinner.
Did you talk about
Who's going to
death?
break first?
Do you know when you go out with your missus, all you talk about is the kids and how the kids are? That's when you go out with your missus and you talk about death.
Yeah.
I was
Objection.
We talk about the kids or the dogs. I wonder the dogs are all right. The kids are all right. I'm sure
It
people
sounds
have
like
been there.
fun to laugh,
sounds
mate.
like
When you go out with
Oh, my
But when you go out with your
goodness.
missus, do you have a massive conversation over like?
What else do you talk about?
Do
You
you have a
mentioned
dinner?
the dogs, you mentioned the
Do
kids.
you have a dinner and you sit there, you order, right? Yeah, nice.
But that's
what
not
you
to your missus. You're talking to the waiter there. You're sending missus to go and get your food. I'll have the steak and chips, Rachel. I'll have the steak medium rare.
But
You give us a Diet Coke while you're up.
Yeah, but you're not
That's not
fired.
the idea of a
That is
restaurant.
fine.
Yeah,
What are you talking about?
Yeah, but you're not fired.
staff in this restaurant.
How often does your hair crop up?
No, never. But you know when you go out,
You talk about beauty products.
no, you just look you're trying to turn on me again. Stop being horrible, right? So you go out, you say, right, what have you done all week? I know exactly what she's done. She knows what I've done. So when we talk about the kids, wonder how he is, wonder how he's getting to school.
Come on, you talked about Strictly, no? That didn't crop up?
No, well, not really, no, not really. Anyway, back to FIFA points.
What do you talk about with your wife, by the way?
Talk about the future.
Yeah.
We'll talk about
The past.
past.
And the present.
And the present.
It's all
a cracking
done.
night.
Do you, when you go out for your message, do you talk?
Yeah,
What do you talk about? What do you talk about?
We both take an iPad and watch telly.
Yeah, what do you
What do you
talk
think?
about? What do you talk about?
Whatever crops up. I don't go there with a speech planned. It's not a corporate. I go out and we just talk about whatever we talk about. It's like anything we could be chatting at the minute. We might be moving or we're doing something, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about if we're going to do it at Christmas, when we're going to go on holiday.
Yeah.
What work's coming up, what I'm fancy doing, what she fancies doing.
Holidays.
Where the kids are up
But
to
when you
with
go
the
out,
schooling.
I'm sure people listen to this podcast. When you go out and you're looking around the restaurant, you can see couples who are out for the night without their children. They sit there, they don't speak to each other.
You might as well not bother going out.
Tell you what, how often do you go out and you see couples and they're
On
on
their
their
phones.
iPhones all evening? Hardly exchange a word to each other. It's unbelievable.
Can I just go back to Ronaldo?
Yeah.
So FIFA points, he opened the pack and he got Ronaldo, right? And you think in the world, how many people play FIFA? There's only about 45 Ronaldos. So what's the odds on that? You got Ronaldo. And you can sell Ronaldo for like 1.5 million FIFA coins.
How much is that in...
So it's a couple £100. So,
Hang on a minute.
what?
I don't follow this. This is a new world to me. Fascinating.
So he's got Ronaldo
Yeah.
on FIFA.
Yeah.
Right? And then he can sell him
For 1.5
to other
million
morons
coins.
on internet.
You can sell for 1.5 million coins.
Are these bitcoins?
No, coins, FIFA coins.
Okay.
You don't have it here.
No.
But the kids love it.
But that is one of the ways that you get them to do what they should be doing.
£10 a week or a FIFA pack.
This is how they started, isn't it?
About an hour and a half ago.
Yeah.
What about you? Incentives, or do you just use your encouragement to motivate them?
They do get money for various things around the house.
Right.
They get money for good reports. But it's not like a set. It's not a set thing. It's like, oh, there you go. Well done. Have a few quid.
But like what?
10, 20 quid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to do things because they want to do it.
Not because you got money.
Why are you laughing?
Yeah, 'cause you're-
They want to do it. If my lads
Yeah.
want to play cricket, or my daughter wants to sing,
Yeah, that's
or
true.
she wants, it's because you want to do it and you want to be proud in your performance.
You know what? I've just remembered, slightly boringly, there's a bit of research about if you start giving kids money for too much money for schoolwork and sport, they forget the reason why they're playing it and they just focus on the money. And as soon as the money dries up, they lose all of their motivation.
You're giving Teddy 20 pence if he can hit the
Isn't
ball
it
in the middle of the
interesting,
racket.
though, Sav? I completely
He's going to be a
forgot about
mercenary
that
by the
research.
time he's 8.
All right, guys, shall we crack on? Topic number 1. We've got a few grudge matches coming up. England taking on Australia in the Ashes. Also, Northern Ireland manager Michael O'Neill said after his side's loss to Switzerland after a disgraceful penalty decision that the players must, quote, channel their anger. Patrice Evra banned from club football for 7 months after kicking a fan. So the question we're asking is, do people perform better when motivated by anger, potentially even hatred, or can that actually be damaging? Can that undermine performance? Do you need to be calm? Rob, I'm getting the impression from you, perhaps, that anger might have galvanised you. You played better when you were angry on the pitch, or were you somebody who needed to be calm to think about where you're positioning yourself, how to find your teammates?
I was anger for me.
Was you an angry player?
Yes.
You surprised,
very,
Fred?
very angry. In fact, I can't believe that I was not knocked out several times by teammates. I was that angry, that, distraught when we lost if somebody done something bad. Because, to captain 4 Premier League sides in your country, I know we have a laugh at a joke, but I was all right. And I like to help, everybody in my side. But I would go onto a pitch at times in the first 5 or 10 minutes. If I'd not done anything, I would go and smash somebody and get a yellow card to get myself angry and to get myself going. Yeah. And if I wasn't getting booed by the opposition fans, the game would have passed me by. So for me, anger, I could control my anger. As we said, 89 yellow cards in my career, only 1 red. That says to me
89 yellow cards
in the Premier League, 1 red. That says to me that I could control my anger in a way where not letting my team down. Yeah. So 89 yellow cards. You think what's the odds on 1 red? And that was for 2 yellows, and it was for handball, as we spoke on the previous.
And it was a terrible decision.
So I could control my anger when needed, but to get myself going, I had to be angry, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Yeah. So, yeah.
I was trying to say, come on to Fred and the set, I was the complete opposite. There was a Belgian table tennis player called Thierry Cabrera. Huge guy.
Thierry.
Massive, tall. He looked a bit like Fred, but he had his Fred with Fred with a Brian May wig. He had this long sort of afro. And he was a nasty bit of work. He would come up before the match and he would insult me and insult my parents. He would needle. Yeah, he was horrible. He'd needle you. He was a sledger. And I used to detest him. I hated him. I don't hate many people, but I hated Thierry Cabrera. And he used to play these soft topspins, and I needed to be able to slice and keep patient. But I would want to try and win the point too quickly because I was so upset and riled, and I would attack and I would attack and I would lose. And I had to learn to control the anger, to control the temper. I don't know if I mentioned in the last run that Pete Sampras, he was interviewed after winning Wimbledon against Andre Agassi in '99. And he was asked in the press conference, what was going through your mind when you served the ace that won you Wimbledon? And he said, nothing was going through my mind. Zen-like calm. And then that was how I would think strategically. When I was calm, not angry. And, you look at Zidane, he was wound up, wasn't he? And he headbutted that guy. He'd lost his mind. And I think anger can be a real underminer of performance.
I reckon sometimes I got myself purposely angry.
Did you?
I remember, usually if I was tired or a lack of form, I remember playing against South Africa in, I think, 2002-3, and I used to go out to bat, and I used to shout at all of them. I used to get in first before they got at me and wound them all up.
Yeah.
But that wasn't really the norm. I was a bit like you. If I got angry, I'd lose a little bit of focus.
Yeah.
And I used to like seeing other people getting angry against me. And I like to just smile at them and laugh at them being angry. Because I think sometimes you just lose focus. You lose what you're trying to do. And I can relate to what you said about Pete Sampras. The best times, it just happens.
Yeah, the zone.
You take the opposition out of the equation. It doesn't matter what they're doing. You're just enjoying it.
Yeah.
But I used to get angry. Sometimes I was angry, and this sounds terrible, as if I had hangover when I was bowling, I used to get really angry with myself. So I bowl a bit quicker. So sometimes it worked for me, but I wasn't an angry cricketer.
I was an angry kid. In sport. You know, whether it be fighting with my brother if I lost. You know, whether it was, I remember getting punched in the nose. I lived in a cul-de-sac.
Was he 6 foot away?
What are you laughing for? What are you laughing for, Matthew? I'm not saying your nose is actually small, is it?
That's true. We should measure up.
Like a pickaxe if we stand back to back. 5 doors away, we were playing Conkers. Remember Conkers? What a game Conkers was. And I got beat or something, and I said something to the guy, or I won, and he punched me on the nose. His name was Eddie. Eddie, man, forget it. Eddie punched me in the nose. I was crying my ears out. You know, but I was angry. I used to flip the board, Monopoly board up at Christmas if I lost.
You're a bad loser.
Bad loser.
Yeah, I can't stand losing.
Bad loser. But I suppose, is that angry? Is it anger?
I broke my brother's nose.
What?
When we were kids.
Did you?
It was playing cricket in the path. We weren't allowed to because it used to bang on the fence. But my mum and dad had gone to Asda. So me and my brother had been left at home. So we got to bin out and we played cricket in the path. And what we used to do, you used to water the path. And then so the ball went really fast. And we used to play test matches, England v the West Indies and all this. And he got me out.
You used to water the path?
We used to put water on the path, on the flags.
On the flags,
So
all right.
So it'd be faster. So we did that, and then he got me out, he bowled me. It might have been caught behind. If you nick it behind, you're out.
Yeah.
And it's the garage
And
door.
I hate being out. I hate it.
It's funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even now, I hate being out. And I said that I practiced playing my shot afterwards and the bat flipped out my hand. But I threw my bat when he got me out. And then he was going towards him. It was like spiralling towards my brother. And he was facing the other way. And I shouted, "Chris." He turned round. And then the bat hit him flush on the nose. And his nose just burst. And there's blood everywhere. And then my mum and dad are at Asda. So there's me and my brother. So we had to get my mate Martin, who I've mentioned before, his mum and dad involved. So I was sat there, and my brother's nose is bleeding, he's upset. I'm just dreading the fact that my mum and dad are going to come home anytime soon. And then my brother got taken to hospital. I broke his nose. Oh my God. And it was awful.
What happened later in life when, in your professional career, if things were going wrong? Did you get angry? And if you did it influence your teammates? Was a team more cohesive if everyone was angry about the opposition? Was that a unifying force?
You got to be competitive. There's a difference between competitive and angry. You know, I'd do anything to try and win, don't get me wrong, but I didn't have to be angry.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And I remember when I was young, when I was about 19, 20, I was playing a second team game for Lancashire at Bradford Park Avenue against Yorkshire. I got 38, and Gareth Batty got me out, the off-spinner, in the second team. I got caught mid-on, I was playing well. I came off, I threw my kit everywhere, and then just punched out and punched the wall. And I was sat on the toilet, and I had my head in my hands, and I could feel an egg on the back of my hands.
Wow.
And I thought, my hand's knackered here. And I broke my hand. I had to have my hand pinned. So after that, I never really did anything like that again. I used to get some lads that get out and they throw the kit everywhere, they'd shout and they'd swear. It doesn't help the team. You're out, mate. If you want to do that, do it in the back room.
I used to like the opposition getting angry. You know, I made them angry because I was a bit of a clown idiot on the football pitch, you know, with...
Was
you? Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah. You know, the way I was. And I used to like the opposition getting angry against me. And then I don't know how many people got a red card award against me because I used to wind them up and get them angry. And the difference was with me that, as I've alluded to, I knew where the line was. Yeah. My anger, I could control my anger.
If you had one yellow card, you would be much more judicious in the way you tackled.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
The first one I always thought was a free one.
Yeah.
Not a free one because you're going to get a yellow card, but my tackles were never really red card offences. They were always yellow. So I knew I've got a free one early on to get myself going, and then curb my anger in terms of on the edge.
Yeah.
And that's how I got through. And I love people getting angry against me.
Joe, it's interesting hearing you talk about cricket as a youngster. Did you have all of these different special rules? Like we had, if you edged it behind,
Hit the
and
garden
it
door.
hit the wall of the patio, then you're out.
Did you smash any windows?
And if you hit the
kid,
ball
and
and
you
it
cul-de-sac?
bounced, then did you do one hand, one bounce? If it bounced once,
No,
you don't like that.
Don't
one?
like that.
I used to play tennis in the cul-de-sac. Used to get the chalk. So when Wimbledon was on, used to get the chalk and draw a court on the road in the cul-de-sac. Cricket, we used to have the gardens. So in the cul-de-sac, there was like 8 hours in the cul-de-sac. We lived in the cul-de-sac. I'm not mentioning it. You know, the gardens.
The story's the cul-de-sac. It's going nowhere.
Yeah. The gardens were out, and there was one guy who lived in the end house. If the ball went in his garden, you had to sneak under the window to get it back because he had good
There's always
flowers.
one person in the street you can't go in.
That was it.
There's always one.
It was
We've
Uncle
got
John.
a next door neighbour
Uncle
like
John.
that.
He couldn't go in his garden
Was
if
he
he did.
Uncle?
Well, I just called him Uncle John.
Why?
Do you not find that? When you're growing up, you call him Auntie Joe and Uncle John, no? Or whatever the names were. It might have been Mike and Stephanie, I don't know.
How many uncles have you got?
Growing
Well, I'll
up.
be honest with you.
What?
My mum and dad's close friends. You called them uncle sometimes or auntie.
Yeah, there are close friends.
Well, he's not really that close if you can't go in his garden to get
Yeah.
the ball. I wouldn't be calling him uncle.
I was allowed
I'd be
Uncle
calling
John.
him knobhead John.
I was allowed in the garden. There was always one, wasn't there?
Yeah. We've got one
Really?
now. Yeah, we've got a garden. It's a small garden, not like yours, that backs onto a number of different gardens. In fact, we're enclosed all the way around, but there are some neighbours to our left who are an absolute nightmare.
If the ball, if Teddy hits one off the frame of the racket, gets 20p for it, and he goes in the garden. How much the ball costs more than the 20p?
Exactly. And it was
Was there like a weird house on your street as well that you don't go into the garden?
Oh yeah, there was. There was a guy on the street. He was a nice man, but he was eccentric, and he had all of these weird sort of idiosyncrasies. I think he was quite ill at the end, but no one went anywhere
Why are you
near.
smiling?
No, it's not funny. But if the ball went in that, we just stopped at that point. We'd either get another ball. And the other thing is, you ran out of balls. So we played cricket with a tennis ball. Did you play with a tennis ball?
Yeah.
And they were expensive, so we were using terrible, old, crummy.
They're better
tennis...
like that though. When you lose
Yeah,
all the
maybe,
first,
yeah.
skip on it and you tape them up.
Did you ever do knock and run on that person?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did.
knock and
Knock
run.
and run.
Used to play that.
Knock and run. What else? Kirby.
Kick can.
What was kick can?
Kick can. You put the ball in the street, and then if you're on, you boot the ball down the street, and then while they're fetching it, everyone hides.
Hide and seek.
Yeah, but it's like hide and seek with a twist. You got a football, so the football's then placed in the middle of the street, and then while you're going off to look for people,
Yeah.
someone can go and boot the ball off, and you got to go and get it again.
Right.
We always end up
We called it the knock thing, knock down ginger. You didn't call it that. Did you
You're
ever
not talking about Freddie. Knock down the ginger. No,
did you ever do garden hopping, by
He'd
the
jump
way?
to knock down him, wouldn't he? Knock down the ginger. That's what that boxer did to him. That boxer played that. What was he called? Knock down the ginger.
Oh, you're doing that.
Knock down the ginger.
First time. Did you ever do garden hopping?
Yeah.
Where you go into your back garden, then you get into the next person's garden, then you'd be going from garden to garden. You
Yeah.
end up somewhere completely unexpected.
Foxes and hounds.
Fox is a noun.
Yeah.
That's a pub.
But no, it was hide and seek. So hide and seek. So that whoever was looking for you, you could say foxes and hounds, and when you were hiding, you had to go woo like a hound.
Do that again, Rob. What did you do? That
Like a hound.
Ooh.
That's what it was. I was better than your singing practice. So foxes and hounds.
Just rewinding though to the sport issue of performance. So just to throw in a bit of neuroscience, have you heard of the amygdala? This is like a part of the brain. It's an almond-shaped piece of the brain that
I never thought I'd say this. Can I hear more from you, Rob?
Amygdala. An almond.
Foxes and hounds. Carry on.
Yeah.
So the amygdala, you know, like the brain is made up of lots of different bits. You know, the prefrontal cortex, the basal ganglia.
Oh, you don't have to tell us, Matthew.
Yeah, you know that.
Patronise me.
The amygdala is a really ancient part of the brain. We share it with reptiles and other mammals. And if you go in a brain scanner and you're angry, the amygdala lights up. You've heard of the fight, flight, freeze response.
Yeah.
When you're confronted by danger. And anger, it kind of bypasses all of the kind of rational parts of the brain and it triggers behaviour. That's what happens when the red mist descends. You're not thinking, are you? When you headbutt somebody, when you punch them, you're not sort of rationally thinking, is this the right thing to do under these circumstances? You're just acting on instinct. And we need to do that sometimes because we're in situations where we need to act fast. But I think in a sports context, that kind of anger, I don't think it's strategic enough.
No.
Because you need to be thinking clearly. And I wonder whether, Rob, you were not really angry. You were using it as energy. You still knew where the line was. I don't think that's real anger.
Right. I thought, I was angry when I played. I was an angry man. I had 2 fights. We spoke this from previous podcasts. 2 fights with teammates in the dressing room.
Wow.
And I'm surprised. I'm surprised that if you asked a lot of my teammates, I'm sure they would have said, they would love to have knocked me out. And I'm surprised I haven't been knocked out more often when I was.
We all are, Rob. To be honest.
when I've played.
We got close to it.
Going
in this
back
podcast. What about the coaches, by the way? If you had a coach who lost his rank with you or with a teammate, and he wasn't trying to help you to develop, but he had just completely lost the plot.
Well, he's the gaffer, wasn't he?
You would put up with
Gaffer,
that.
yeah.
That's a way of.
For me, he was the gaffer.
Yeah,
he was the gaffer. Whether you believed, you thought he was right or not, he was the manager.
See, yeah. What's your take on the coaches?
I don't mind, to be honest. I'd sooner that, because I had a coach who didn't say much. Didn't say out to me. I'd sooner get it out there, lad.
Yeah.
Let me know what you're thinking, rather than ignoring us.
Yeah.
And I had coaches, I think I mentioned last week, Bob Simpson let me have it a couple of times. Peter Sleep, it was Aussie, second team coach at Lancashire, used to let everyone have it. Bumble, never die wondering. He'd let you know exactly what he thought. I don't mind that.
Would he do it in a way that was frank and fair, or would he do it in a way that went over the line into a real dressing down, like an angry rant?
No, frank and fair with Bumble. Yeah. Sometimes, but it wouldn't. He'd go off at everyone. He'd shout at everyone, and it was just. I think it was a build-up for him at times. What was on his mind, and a release, like we all do.
And if you two were coaching first teams, England team, Welsh team. I mean, you're coaching a youth team, of course, with the controller of 5 Live. Very strategic that. But if you were coaching at the elite level, and you're trying to get your guys motivated, Fred, you said on the podcast that motivation is it's not about getting them technically better. They already know how to play. It's about motivation. It's about galvanizing them. Would you try and use anger? Would you say these opponents, they've been criticising you in the press, they're nasty pieces of work, they're trying to take your glory, or would you not use that as a way of motivating them?
I think motivation for me is, if you're not motivated, you're in the wrong job.
Uh-huh.
I think sometimes something can give you an extra edge. If someone says something, it can give you maybe a little bit more purpose at times. But I think a lot at a time, when the teams I played in, I look back, you spend more time speaking about the opposition than you do about yourselves.
Yeah.
It's like, let's get yourselves right, get the team the best it can possibly be, get each individual going out onto a field or a pitch feeling the best and most prepared they can be, and then you can take on the opposition. I think we worry too much about the opposition from time to time, rather than actually ourselves as players.
I'd be an angry coach.
Would you?
I would be. Within my under-12 side, obviously you can't get angry because it's about development, enjoying it. But the higher up you go, I think my frustration, my anger, would be, I think I'd be an angry manager.
Taking it away from sport briefly, what is it in real life that makes you angry? Is there anything that brings the red mist down for either of you? Not irritated, not indignant, angry. I'll give you one that really angers me. You've got great footballers. Wayne Rooney.
Great footballer.
Yeah, or good footballers. People who have achieved amazing things from very poor backgrounds and have to work hard in a tough competitive environment. They get to the top and then they get ridiculed because they don't answer in an articulate way in a press conference. Oh, they're thick.
That makes you angry.
That makes me really angry, particularly when it's private school, educated people who have had every advantage in life, who start going after these footballers who have come through incredible disadvantage to make the top. I think that is a massive cultural problem. It's a kind of working class prejudice. I don't get angry about much. I get incredibly angry about that.
I get angry when I'm working. So I'm at work. My wife will ring me.
Oh, here we go.
My wife will ring me and say, these kids are driving me mad. You've got to talk to them. So I'm at work. I'm at work trying my best. And then your wife will phone you up and say, these kids are driving me mad today. You've got to talk to them. So I'll speak to them. And then I'll get another phone call. I'll get another phone call saying the kids are still playing up. So when I get home, I've had a long day at work. The kids have been answering my wife back, which really winds me up.
Yeah.
Then you get home and like she's made you worry all day about the kids are playing up at our home. You get home and everything's all right. That really winds me up, makes me angry because the kids are being naughty when I'm not there.
Do you know, go on.
I love my wife, and she does a fantastic job.
Yeah, me too. I've never had an argument with her.
Never.
I mean, that's real life, though. You know,
Actually, do you know, can I throw this in?
that's real life, isn't it?
You guys are so honest. You said to me, phone call this week, I need to be a bit more open and honest about my life on the podcast, right?
I just said you need to like let go now and again.
Okay,
Is that fair?
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah, I had an
wait.
argument with Kathy this
Oh!
week. We don't argue very often at all. And it was just a small thing. You know, we rent out parking spaces on our road.
You rent out. You bought a road.
This is a very middle-class problem.
No, we rent them
This
out.
is like-
We rent them from other.
Mate.
We don't have any parking.
You
spaces.
bought a road.
We don't have any parking
On
spaces.
your private
Hang on,
road that
no.
you own.
You bought a road.
This is a mistake to bring this up. No, on the road that we live on, our house doesn't have.
You've not lost your traffic cones, have you? She's not hid them. These are first world problems, aren't they? I don't know how you manage.
So go on.
So
Where's
have
this? In Richmond?
In Richmond.
Bloody hell. Kathy, have you been messing around with the bloody traffic codes again? Some bounders parked on our road. Come on, Matthew. Tell us this problem.
We have a road. No. We live on the road, but we don't
your
have
road?
a road.
An A road. You live on an A road.
A1?
There's traffic on it.
Stop it. We don't have a parking space with our house.
You got a garage.
No.
Right.
So we rent out 2 parking spaces from a church and 1 from one of our neighbours. And I said to Kathy, you know, there's this block of flats near where we live, and maybe there might be a less expensive parking space to rent out. And then she said, well, why don't you go and knock at all the flats and find out? And I said, well, can't you do it? And then it was, yeah, but hang on, you're often away doing speeches and podcasts and all this, and I'm working hard. She has a job, but I'm also looking after. And we got into a real ruck about it. This is like 2 nights ago. And yeah, Frank, I don't think we've quite resolved it yet.
Can I ask? You say you've not resolved it. How much of a problem is this in your lives? Is it like
What, the parking space?
yeah, the parking?
No, it's
issue?
not a big deal, but it kind of was a trigger to have a bit of a discussion about how much time I was spending with the kids, how much time she's spending with the kids. So I'm kind of relating to what you're saying, Rob. You know, you're working and you know, part of your bandwidth, wherever you are, is what are the children up to? You know, how can I make sure that they're doing the right things at the right time? But it is difficult.
Yeah.
And I think also it's easy to underestimate the amount that one's wife or partner is putting into the kids every day.
Every day.
When you're away.
Amazing.
I agree.
We've talked about this. We're not going to go back to a previous podcast, but my wife with the kids is unbelievable, as yours is, and as yours is, Andrew's is, Fred's is.
Who am I?
Frenchie.
I'm getting to know you better. I cannot imagine, I may be completely wrong, that there's anything in ordinary life that gets you angry, because you're pretty phlegmatic guy. No, go on. Is that wrong? Am I wrong? Have you broken anyone else's nose?
No, do you know what? Like, big things don't really get me angry. It's just little things sometimes. I'm quite defensive. Not defensive, but if someone attacks me, I defend myself.
Yeah.
And that goes for anything. So it can just come out any time. I got angry this week. In the musical, I got angry.
Go on.
I got really angry.
Why?
Because I forgot a line. And I had a big pause and then blurted it out. And then I was so angry when I came off. It was the closest I'd felt to getting out in years.
Really?
I got really angry. I get angry if I don't sleep. I need my sleep.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of I get manky.
How many hours do you normally get?
I need 8+.
Wow.
If I don't get 8+, I'm a mess.
I need 9, 10.
10 hours?
Yeah, I go to bed at 9, 9:30 every night. Get up at 8.
How come you're on Twitter at 7 then?
Yeah, I wake up in bed. I'll have an hour. I'll go to the gym at 8:30.
Wake up in bed.
That's not 10 hours of sleep.
Really, Rob? You wake up in bed. Fucking heck. You're weird.
But there's nothing like trivial that will get you. Forget a line, you get angry. But it's not like you wouldn't. The red mist doesn't descend if you lose the remote control or if.
No. Do you know what? Do you know what gets me sometimes is at home? Is like I'll ask the missus where the keys.
Yep.
And she'll say they're in my bag. I said, well, can I have them? And she said, no, my bag's here. And then I find myself looking around house for something which It's nothing to do with me. I've not had them. It's nothing to do with me. You know where they are, but you're still making me look.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I get a red miss. I get annoyed.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a deal breaker.
No.
So, should we move on to the next topic?
Oh, I can't wait for this one.
Kane's in here and scores! Rashford blinds the back of the net.
The 5 Live Football Daily.
He will be a brilliant centre forward, there's no doubt about that.
People in that defence are not doing the job that they're paid to be doing.
There's not one player has played better in their career.
He's been the talk of world football all week.
This is more than just a game.
More than just a game. Subscribe to the 5 Live Football Daily Podcast to receive the latest news, views and analysis direct to your inbox.
The one that came your way, though, lovely first touch and then bang.
Yeah, left foot as well, which I was very surprised it went in a straight line.
Last week, Fred mentioned that he didn't believe in the moon landings and that he thinks that the entire thing could have been staged.
Yeah.
The conversation continued after we finished the recording. Today, we've all brought in our conspiracy theories. Now, Fred, you've got a new one today.
Well, yeah, one of the things is, and I've not really spoken about this in the past.
He's excited, look at him.
I can see that.
I really love a conspiracy theory. I love all these things out there where, you know, like the moon landings.
Yep.
Did they exist? There's all this evidence to suggest they didn't. And there's so many more out there. And I love a programme on TV about it. I love reading about it. Mm-hmm. And what I did was I wanted you to bring in conspiracy theories this week, things that interest you, things that we can debate and argue whether they really happened. And you know what? Do you want me to kick it off?
You to kick it off, Andrew.
I'm going to kick it off. There's, apart from our award-winning podcast, there are other podcasts out there.
Yeah.
And there's one called The Flat Earthers.
Ooh.
Right, and these guys, it's a group of people who believe that the world is not round, it is flat.
What?
Now, I'm going to have to explain here. I am not coming out now saying I think the world is flat, but it could be.
The world could be flat.
It could be flat. There's evidence to suggest that the world isn't round.
What about...
And I know you go back in the day and all these people were setting off sail and they're worried about falling off the edge of the earth and then they realise that they can't. But it could be.
But think about the evidence. So what about photographic evidence from spacecraft, which shows that the Earth is spherical?
Felix Baumgartner jumped from that thing. Red Bull tweeted us last week, by the way.
Did, yeah,
did you see that? Red Bull tweeted about Felix Baumgartner.
Did they?
So, when he jumped, you can see the Earth's round.
No.
You can.
Right.
Go on.
Because the pictures which you see, the horizon always appears flat, apart from NASA pictures, which some say could be doctored. Could be doctored. The theory with the flat Earth is, right, you got the Earth, and it's round. It's
like a disc.
Like a disc. Not completely flat. It's probably bulbous underneath.
Yeah.
In the middle of it is the North Pole.
Right.
It's bang in the middle. Around the outside is the South Pole.
Yeah.
And that is like a big wall of ice. The South Pole.
Robbie's face.
Right. And this adds up a little bit. This is why all governments now have got bases on the South Pole. You can't go to the South Pole now as a punter. You can't just turn up and go. It's all controlled. You can't.
I've got a friend who's got the only privately owned runway near the South Pole.
Near it. See, you just said near it. Don't say near the South Pole.
But then they fly people in who pay a lot of money and then they trek to the South Pole. It's like one of these big adventure holidays. But go on.
So you got that, right? Hitler was obsessed with it, the South Pole. Obsessed with it. Aliens and all that. But there's certain things which you can test.
Yep.
Say if you're in a helicopter, right? Yeah. If you got in a helicopter and hovered, why, if the world is round and spins, why does your destination not come to you?
Because of the principle of relativity.
Talk us through it.
So the atmosphere of the Earth, as it spins, carries around with the Earth. In the same way, if you're in a plane that's flying forward at 100 miles an hour and you throw a tennis ball up in the air in the plane, the tennis ball doesn't hit the back of the plane. It carries on with you. It's a fundamental precept of physics.
Yeah, there you go. Next. He's amateur. He's amateur there.
We said what makes you angry, Fred.
He's amateur there. Come on, Andrew. Don't give up that easy. No.
Oh. All right, I'll carry on.
Carry on. He's gone.
Why?
Yeah.
Why them? If we're hurtling through space, rivers and excuse me.
He's gone. One of those voice tweets. Where are the vocals?
Why would water stay still? Why is it not wobbling all over the place?
Same reason.
I'm not all fair with it. So go on, relativity. You don't make out you know what it is.
It's not my subject, it's yours.
You know you're in an aeroplane.
Yeah.
And it's flying at 600 miles an hour, and then you throw a tennis ball from within the cabin. The tennis ball goes up and it lands in your hand. It doesn't go up and hit the back of the plane. And the reason is it has forward momentum based on the fact that it was travelling forward at the time it was thrown. So it just comes straight back down into your hand. In the same way, the Earth and its atmosphere is a bit like the cabin of a plane, as I understand it. So if you throw a tennis ball up in the air on the Earth, it just comes down.
But as you understand it.
Well, that's called the principle of relativity. I mean, I didn't do physics at university.
You know what you should have done? You should have asked me, because he's too clever.
What about the laser?
Go on.
Oh, he's coming back. He's coming back.
If you fire a laser
Yep.
around about 16 miles, if the world was curved, if you was on the other side of it and this has been tested, you would not be able to see it.
Yep.
But you can.
That's interesting.
So why can you not?
Don't know that one, Rob. Any thoughts?
Well, what about Aristotle?
What about him?
What about him?
Who is he, Rob? Who's Aristotle?
He's a Greek philosopher, Andrew.
Just give us a bit of background on Aristotle,
Aristotle.
before. Give us a bit of background on it. Just give us a bit of background on
I've just
Aristotle.
produced Aristotle.
No, just a bit of background on it. Just paint a picture.
He was a Greek philosopher, Andrew.
What was his philosophy? What was he?
And so what happened was with Aristotle, he noticed during the lunar eclipses, the shadow on the moon's surface is round. The shadow is the Earth.
Yeah, that's...
What?
Yeah?
Go on.
Aristotle was a great Greek philosopher. So basically, he noticed that during lunar eclipses, the shadow on the moon's surface is round. So that's the shadow of the Earth.
Fred, if you had to put money on it, if you had to put £1,000 on whether the Earth is flat or slightly bowl-shaped with the South Pole around the perimeter and the North Pole in the middle, or is actually a sphere.
What odds are you giving me?
Let's say it's even money. Which way would you bet?
Even money?
Even money?
Oh, you can't give even money.
You would go for round. You'd go for spherical.
I wouldn't have a bet on even money. Give me.
Say okay, 5 to 1.
Oh, I'd go £1,000 on flat.
Would you really?
For the sake of £1,000.
Wow.
In flat, so when they say flat,
Yeah.
Holland's flat,
Yeah.
isn't it? Holland's flat.
But what they mean by that is it doesn't have many mountains.
Oh.
It's still curved around the surface of the Earth. What's your conspiracy theory?
Hang on. Listen, you've picked on the wrong guy, Andrew.
Oh, he's
too
just
clever
ruined
for you.
it, hasn't he?
He's too
He's
clever
ruined
for
it.
you. Well, it's a theory, isn't it?
Well, they also, the flat earthers reckon. You know what scientists suggest? That the sun is 149.6 million kilometres from Earth.
Yep.
The flat earthers believe it's only 4,000 miles above us.
Really?
Yeah. And they suggest that the sun and moon have the same dimensions. Both stars have a diameter of 32 miles.
But where are they getting this stuff from?
Because...
And they've actually got a podcast where they discuss this every week.
Yeah.
What with new bits of evidence that are coming in and the lasers. And
they're all over it.
So basically, let's think about how wide this conspiracy must be, because it includes pretty much every astrophysicist in the world. It includes everybody at NASA. There must be thousands of people. So the question I've got for you...
The Earth's round.
Yeah, exactly. So why are But if it's flat, then a lot
It's
of
not
people...
flat.
Exactly, it isn't. But if Fred is right, then there must be a lot of people who are lying. So the question is, why? What is their motivation to lie? Why are they perpetrating this huge fraud on the world, according to the flat earthers?
But then if you're going to use that argument, why are they lying towards us? There's all these conspiracy theories where people think we're lying. JFK, for instance.
Yeah.
All these people must know what really happened there. The Twin Towers, there's all conspiracy theories about. There's all sorts of...
But then there was an incentive with JFK. Maybe they were worried that if it got out that it wasn't Lee Harvey Oswald, then they would find out it was the CIA or the FBI. So they've got an incentive to cover up what was really happening because they're trying to divert attention onto this innocent person. Obviously, we all think that Harvey Oswald did kill him. But in the Flat Earther, what was the...
So, okay, on the flat Earth, what about this one then? So I've already come up with Aristotle.
Oh, don't start again.
No, so listen. Don't get all aggressive because he's got you. He's killed your argument. He's very clever, but Andrew, you should have thought before you come on that topic, right? What about this? A ship.
Yeah.
So if you've ever stared off into the horizon, if you've ever stared into the horizon, you might notice approaching ships do not just appear, do they? Ships. They just don't appear, do they?
Right.
Ships just don't appear, do they?
Well,
Right?
they kind of get bigger and
They
what's your point?
Let me read it. I've done my research. Let me read it. Then you can answer.
You
Right?
don't do research, you're reading.
If you ever stared off into the horizon, you might notice approaching ships do not just appear out of the horizon.
Yep.
And in brackets, like they should have if the world was flat, but rather emerge from beneath the sea, which only happens due to the curvature of the Earth.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying it's completely flat. I'm
Well,
saying
make up
it's
your mind.
bulbous. Not like pancake. We say it's bulbous. They say it's bulbous.
What's a bulb now?
Well, it's like bulbous. It's not like flat. It's like concave, isn't it? Like
a bulb?
Yeah.
Like a what?
Like a turnip.
So the world's gone, because he's amateur, you've got the world's
I never
gone.
said that in the start. I said it's like a turnip. I said it's bulbous.
You said it's flat. So now you changed from the Earth's flat to it's like a turnip.
Can I throw in my one? Can I throw in my one?
Yeah, go on.
So
Can we just ask, do you still believe the world's flat?
But I said that I didn't say it's flat. I'm saying it's a conspiracy theory.
So what do you think now?
Huh? I think it's flat. Because you see, he bangs on about Aristotle's and his theories. Just a theory. Aristotle. Where's Aristotle's proof?
Oh well, that's one the great.
Where's
problem.
Aristotle's proof?
The great problem.
No, don't quote Aristotle and don't back it up.
Well,
What's his proof?
Aristotle was wrong about tons of stuff.
Well, exactly. He's wrong about this as well.
Yeah. Well,
if I fired a bullet, right?
Let it go, Andrew.
No,
Let it go.
If I fired a bullet, if I fired a bullet straight up in the air,
yes.
Why does it come back down? Why, if it's spinning, it'd end up miles away.
Yeah.
Because
the
the
principle
Earth.
of relativity again.
Relativity. I get that.
What?
If you fire up
You
there.
get it and explain me the principle of relativity.
Don't come for me, Andrew.
But just briefly, don't go on. Just
So if
briefly.
you had a tennis ball and you're in an aeroplane, you threw it up, it would come back down to you.
That's not Aristotle's theory.
What?
No, it's in an aeroplane.
Who is Aristotle anyway?
Oh no, he's one of Matthew's mates.
Tell you what, one of the great things ever. Hey, have you ever heard of a guy called David Icke?
Love David Icke.
David Icke. He used to
about Icke.
I follow him on Twitter.
He
The son
used
of
to
God.
do grandstanding.
So
I got a direct message from him the other day on Twitter, asking
from
him
David Icke.
asking me to go to his book launch in Manchester.
You're kidding.
No.
So he knows that you follow him because he's seen it on Twitter. Have you ever had any communication with him?
No, I didn't reply. I didn't reply.
Because I got to know him a bit when he was starting out as a BBC presenter. What was it, the 1980s? He came and interviewed me because I was playing table tennis and there was a story. And then in 1990, he said that he had received a message from the spirit world that he was a son of the Godhead and that the world would be devastated by tidal waves and earthquakes.
Mm-hmm.
And at the heart of his theories is the idea that many prominent figures, the royal family, top politicians, belong to the Babylonian Brotherhood.
Lizards.
A group of shape-shifting reptilian humanoids who are propelling humanity towards a global fascist state. Now, the amazing thing about Icke is that he's been ridiculed on television. I think his theories don't make any sense. He has an absolutely massive following. He gives speeches, thousands of people turn up. Loads of people.
8 hours long, his speeches. 8 hours. He does it all day. He's on a world tour. He's at the Manchester Apollo. I think he's there next year. I was thinking about going, but how'd you find 8 hours to listen to David Icke? But he also went on the Wogan show.
Yeah.
He was on the Terry Wogan show. He went on the massive show at the time, Terry Wogan.
Yeah.
He's going through the interview and he decided to reveal that he is the son of God on this programme, which blows all his theories out the water. Everyone thought he'd gone mad. Everyone thought he was a bit of a...
Crank.
But then, retrospectively, he said, he got that wrong. He was having a bit of a troubled patch at the time.
Yeah.
He doesn't think he's the son of God. But, however, he still stands by his beliefs.
Yeah.
And if you follow him on Twitter, everything that goes on around the world, he has a theory on
he does.
why it is.
So he thinks we're lizards.
He thinks that the powerful people are lizards and that they're using the rings of Saturn in the moon to broadcast a 5-sense prison, an artificial sense of self. But what Fred is saying is he's got theories on everything, and they're all deeply complex and
So have I.
Well, I've got, I'm going to talk just briefly.
No, it's deeply complex.
But there's an interesting bit of psychology here about why do conspiracy theories survive even when evidence turns up that shows that they're probably
like
wrong.
Fred's just Fred would admit it.
And here's a guy called Leon Festinger. He's a psychologist. He read a newspaper article where there was a group of a cult that said the world is going to finish on December the 31st and that the believers of the cult were going to get rescued by a spaceship that would land in the garden of this woman called Marion Keach, who was getting these spirit messages from these aliens, and they would be rescued. And there were about 20 people in this cult who were absolutely certain that the world was going to end and they were going to get rescued by a spaceship. So this psychologist said, wouldn't it be interesting to go and infiltrate the cult to see what they do when it turns out the prophecy is false? Because he would expect them to abandon the cult at that point. But conspiracy theories are so seductive, he thought maybe they won't. And what happened? He sat in the lounge with these 20 people.
Waiting for the spaceship.
And the husband of the woman who's getting the spiritual messages didn't believe it. He's asleep upstairs in the bedroom. The other 20 are there waiting. Gets to midnight, the spaceship hasn't arrived. 1 minute past 12, it hasn't arrived. They're thinking, what's going on here? And then they remembered that one of the things they'd been told in the messages is you can't wear any metal on the spaceship. So maybe they're hovering above, waiting for them to take so they're taking their watch off. One took the trousers off because he was worried the zip of his trousers. Eventually they realise at 1 a.m. it isn't coming. And they're sat there thinking, what is going on? We believed in this. We gave up our jobs. We left our families. We put up with a lot of social disapproval. And instead of saying, well, maybe this woman who's been telling us the world will end is a complete crank, you know what they did? They said, oh, I understand what's happened. We're such ardent believers that this alien has spared the earth. And therefore what we need to do is get more people into our cult, because that way we'll be able to spare the earth from another apocalypse. In other words,
they're out there, these people.
No matter what happens, no matter what the evidence says, people will find a reason to continue to believe in the conspiracy.
Basically, you say that, it's like David Icke with his lizards.
Yeah.
There's over 12 million people in the US believe it.
12 million?
Interstellar lizards in people suits roaming our country. 12 million people believe this.
That's amazing, isn't it?
And we've imported this belief from across the pond. It's
Do you think it's nonsense?
What?
There's lizards. No, there are lizards, but not as people.
Well, with the risk becoming the new David Icke here, right?
Do you think there's lizards?
Fred, don't.
No,
please.
come on.
Right.
Think about the long...
Matthew's just disproved your flat Earth theory with a...
That's not my theory, this is it.
With an example of a tennis ball and an aeroplane.
Well, that's nonsense.
What?
Nonsense.
Well, no, it's not nonsense.
104,000 likes on Facebook, the Flat Earthers. So there's people out there who believe it. It's not my theory, it's the Flat Earthers' belief.
The lizards?
The lizards, I'm not really having the lizards, that there are people walking amongst us in lizard suits. I'm not having that.
Thanks for that.
All right.
Thanks, mate.
David Icke also reckons the Queen of England.
Yeah.
Which I'm not having. She's lovely, and I'm protecting my MBA.
And hoping for a knighthood.
Well, but I think there are aliens amongst us.
What, like Men in Black?
Well, not like some bloke with a ball bag on his chin.
Yeah.
But, you know what I mean? But... You know
think
what?
there are aliens like hanging around?
Why wouldn't there be?
Hang on.
There's aliens walking around now.
What, do you think there's a chance that Robbie is an alien?
He's different, but I wouldn't say an alien.
So you think there could be aliens walking around amongst us?
Yeah. Why not? But there's all these things like Roswell with...
Yeah.
They reckon they've got bodies in there from aliens and they've contacted before. There's been a lot of sightings and there's been all this and that. So who's to say?
Do you think they are masquerading as humanoids?
Well, I think they could be very similar to us, couldn't they? They could be very similar. Who knows
I've had my suspicions about Mike, the producer, for quite some time.
Why not? Why not?
There's aliens walking around.
They're not going to tell us because we'll panic. You disprove there's not then.
I've not seen one to start with.
How do you know?
What?
How do you know?
Well, because they haven't got funny heads and big eyes and...
Oh, is that what they've got to look like because you've watched Star Wars?
Well, what's an alien look like?
I don't know.
Well, you see shows. What's an alien look like?
Rob, they're not real.
I know that. You think they're walking round.
Because...
You think they're walking round outside. Let's go for the costume, Mr. Alien.
There might not be one on Media City, but there might be some somewhere.
Where?
I don't know. I don't know.
Where? Not Media City, but where?
Anywhere.
Where? Name a place.
Anywhere.
Where?
Burnley.
There might be.
Burnley. Riddled with them.
Yeah, aliens. I can't believe.
Why not?
Anyway,
Come on, Roberto, what's yours?
So what about this? This is absolute nonsense for me, but two very well-known, good people have stated. So Elon Musk, who is the co-founder of PayPal and Tesla, and astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, I know him.
Yeah.
You know him.
So basically, their conspiracy, or the conspiracy theory is that we are in a computer simulation. Are we living in the Matrix?
A Matrix?
Yeah. Are we living
like the movie?
Are we living in a computer simulation?
I think that is a plausible
Plausible.
theory. I really do. Yeah.
We are living in a simulation.
Well, I don't think there's any way of disproving
I don't
it.
think so.
Think about it. Every experience that we have, is I look at Fred, and the perception I have is the light rebounds off him, and it comes into my eye, into the retina, digital impulses to my brain, where it is then interpreted. There's no reason why that whole thing couldn't be happening just by stimulating the brain without Freddie actually being there.
So
I agree with this a little bit, but one thing goes against it. There's proof in this room that we are not a computer game.
Go on.
Well, you play FIFA. Who was controlling Robbie when he was playing? Imagine some poor bloke, right? Who's got the game? He's opened his FIFA pack. He's got Robbie Savage. They talk about 45 Ronaldos all over the world. Oh no, Robbie Savage must be the worst FIFA player in the world. Oh, he's giving away again. Over at bar.
But Musk said there's 1 in a billion chance we're in a base reality. Come on, these are obviously very intelligent people.
I don't think that's implausible. I find the whole of reality. I think it's really possible.
What is reality? What is it?
Yeah.
What is it?
Why are you so adamantly?
So we're just in it. So somebody out of our universe is controlling the world.
Well,
How
many people are controlling it? Who's controlling you?
Well, that's a good question. I ask myself that a lot of the time. I do.
Yeah.
I'll be in bed, and I'll be closing my eyes before I go to sleep, and I'm thinking I might move my arm here.
Where's Rachel?
Huh?
Where's Rachel?
Yeah. All right. Well, conspiracy, Rob. It's a conspiracy. I think I might move my arm.
Yeah.
And I think, well, am I moving my arm?
What?
Or is someone moving my arm? Why have I got that thought in my head to move my arm? Why? What is the point?
Look, you want to move your arm.
This is the thing that blows your mind from time to time. I know Matthew, he said last week he doesn't believe in a greater being, an atheist. Then you think, well, what's the point of all this? What is the point? What is it? If there's no, how did things start?
Yeah.
Where are we? What are we? Explain it.
Well, we're not living in a computer simulation.
Well, what are we living in? What are we living in, Robbie Savage?
Rob, you could still be somebody who decides what you want to do, and you move your arm, and it doesn't mean you're being controlled. It just means that what happens as a consequence of you moving your arm is not something that's happening in the world. It's happening in a computer simulation, like in The Matrix. You've seen the film, right?
No.
You've not seen The Matrix?
No.
So that is what they're basically describing is a group of people who are making their own decisions, but they're doing it in basically what looks like a large, oversized test tube, and they've got probes into their brain so that they're getting a continual readout of what's happening digitally, but it's not happening in the real world. It's a great film.
But then this gets me. What is the real world?
That is,
what is the real world?
That's the first question you ask in philosophy. Aristotle engaged with it. Plato, Descartes. No one really gets to the answer with that. I don't think we have a cogent answer to what it really is, and that's why that conspiracy theory, I think, is you can't.
Do you think it could be true?
I think it's entirely plausible.
Do you know when you you talk about this world, and then you think of how big everyone says the solar system is and all that.
Yeah.
Well, then why? I don't understand. I was driving my car last night. No one was thinking about. I was thinking, is this really happening? Am I really driving a car here? What am I doing?
Driving a car, Lamborghini or Ferrari.
But then we spoke about death last week, and we spoke about what happens next. And Matthew's a non-believer. Well, what does happen? And then you talk about the very start of the world, right? And the universe, the Big Bang Theory. I don't know if you're into that.
Yep.
But what was before the Big Bang Theory? There's something always controlling something.
Yeah.
Wherever how far back you go,
Yeah.
there's got to be something before that.
And that's
Who talks then? So you know when you're in bed then? So you're in bed and you have a thought in your head. Who's speaking to you then?
What do you mean?
Because you can hear it. So if I think of something now,
Yeah.
I can hear it.
Really? You
in
actually
your head.
you can acoustically hear somebody saying something to you when you
if
think
you
a
think
thought.
of something now, so in your mind now, think of something.
Okay.
You can hear it, can't you? In your head.
Not always, no. I
So
don't.
how do you know
Of
it's
course
there
you
then?
can. Think of something.
Yeah,
Like
I
an
don't-
internal thought.
Yeah.
So if you think of something
Oh, I
now,
see what you mean. Yeah.
you can hear it.
Yeah. Right. You hear
Who's-
the words that
Yes,
you're
who's talking
thinking.
to you then?
Talking to yourself. You're generating a thought.
That's not
that
somebody
you're-
talking to you.
No. What you think that might be some?
Well, I don't know.
external-
I'm just trying to put theories out there.
Yeah.
Who's talking to you?
It's my thought in my head. But is it my thought?
That's what I'm saying. Is it your thought?
Tell you what I think. I think this topic has been surreal.
You honestly think there's aliens? There's aliens.
Yeah.
Do you think there's aliens?
No.
No.
I think there's I don't think there's any here.
Why?
Because you can't travel faster than the speed of light, and it would take a very long time since the beginning of the Big Bang for them to have developed the technology that they would have required to get here at close to the speed of light.
Too clever for this podcast.
But why are they that far away? Why do you think they're that far away?
Because of
So aliens couldn't get here.
I think it's unlikely, but I think there probably are aliens on other planets. I mean, think how many planets there are. Think how many that could sustain organic life in all of the different solar systems all over the universe. I mean, Fred's right. The universe is unimaginably big. And we are so egotistical to think we are the only living sentient organisms in the entire universe. I think we may at some point get some digital message that's been beamed from a distant star. But the thing is, and then we'd be able to see if, there's a big argument. Would we be able to understand another intelligent life form? Could we
but you
decode?
just said a minute ago it had to set off before the Big Bang Theory.
Sorry, no, because
So
we
do
know
you
that-
believe in the Big Bang Theory?
I think there was a Big Bang that started the universe, but I agree with you 100%.
But the Big Bang is what? Atoms.
No, the Big Bang, before the Big Bang there was nothing, no space
But what
or
is
time.
nothing? This is what bothers me.
This is a weird thing.
Getting
Is that
angry.
given that there was, given that the physicists say there was nothing at all, and then suddenly there was this singularity that led to space and time. They don't think time existed before the Big Bang, which is a bit weird. But you're right. There must have been the conditions in advance of the Big Bang that enabled the Big Bang to happen.
But that's why I think
and
there's
science
some
can't
greater
answer that.
being that science can't explain. So there has to be.
But there's a problem with that too. Is if there was something that needed to cause the Big Bang, and we find that
Can I
unsatisfying.
just ask you a question?
Imagine
What
if
was
there-
the Big Bang? What was it?
Big Bang and the start of everything.
Was that what it was?
Yeah, a singularity. But the thing is, Fred, the problem with the argument, given that we need to have a cause that started the Big Bang, and that cause is God, that just takes the problem one stage further back.
Well, that's
who
the problem.
who created God?
Everything's a stage
exactly.
further back.
And the difficulty of saying who created God is why should there be this incredible being that has just always existed? It doesn't make any sense. Who created him? So we're left, I think, with a fundamental philosophical problem to understand why there is anything at all. The philosopher Wittgenstein said, the deepest mystery is why there is something rather than nothing. Doesn't make any sense.
So what are we?
Exactly.
You think we're aliens?
I don't think I am.
Oh, what do you think you are then?
You are, I'm not.
What do you think you are? Are you? Do you think
Preston.
Yeah. So you're not computer simulated, and you're
I
not an
don't know.
alien.
Robbie, I don't know.
You
I
don't know if you're an
I-
alien or a
I
computer
genuinely-
simulation.
I genuinely don't know what I am.
So
How do you know what you are? How do you know?
Well, I'm not an alien or a computer simulation.
Well, you're an alien to someone from another planet.
That's true.
Yeah, but here now, I'm not an alien. And I'm not, and somebody's not controlling me.
How do you know? This is
Because
how
I
do
know
you
I brush my teeth and wash my hair.
You don't shower.
But I'm not an alien.
Okay, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you for listening. You can download all the shows we've done to date from
Go
the
watch
BBC.
The Matrix when you get home.
I'm going to.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for listening. You can download all the shows we've done to date from the BBC 5 Live website and all the usual podcast places. Please use the hashtag FredSavSide to get in touch through the week. If you could leave a review on iTunes and give us a rating, that would be great. We'll be back next week at the same time. For now, from all of us, goodbye.
Bye.
Woo!
Flintoff, Savage and the Ping Pong Guy.
Thank you for downloading the Flintoff, Savage and the Ping Pong Guy podcast. If you like what you hear, then why not have a look at what else 5 Live podcasts have to offer at bbc.co.uk/5live.